Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, a.k.a. LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here by super fans, Devin and Jake Circus, and this is the first of the free agency Jungle Talks. Yeah, I almost forgot the name of our show. I'm so excited. You guys all know why we are now recording this show, because we just snagged Orlando Brown and solidified our left tackle spot. And this is huge. Jake and I said last week when we did the show, the news is going to dictate when we record. And I'm sitting here working in my office and I go, oh my gosh, we just signed Orlando Brown. Immediately shoot a message to Jake. We grabbed Devin and here we are. What a great day. So just tell me thoughts, guys. Let's jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I there was a lot of frustration. Like, it kind of reminds me of like in 2020 before they signed DJ Reader, because that came out of nowhere, and then it was like, oh, we're looking at DJ Reader, and then, oh, the Broncos topped our offer, he's gone, and then 20 minutes later, oh, we upped the offer and we got DJ Reader. But that was late afternoon on day 2, and all the linebackers went on day 1. Everyone got pissed off, all the tackles went, and then we signed one of the a player who's a top player at his position. And that's kind of what they just did an hour and a half ago. We're going to talk about all the contract stuff, but yeah, very exciting stuff. They got a top 10 player on the market, pound for pound. I mean, that's just how it is. And it's the best signing they've made since Reader. It's one of the 3 best signings in franchise history. It's an exciting day.
Yeah, oh, it's huge.
Listen, what I like, and Jake, obviously we were texting right away, and one of the coolest things is this is like Jake said, we're going to get into the contract, but this is a contract unlike the Bengals have ever given, and we'll get into the money and what it means. But there's been a major change in this front office and this ownership in recent years. Everybody wondered why the stadium out of nowhere we got the renaming before the season. That's an influx of cash. It takes cash to run a football team. If I'm not mistaken, the Bengals are the only NFL team that is owned by an owner that doesn't have any other business entities. Paul Brown and the Brown family, they only own the Bengals. So they don't have tons and tons of cash, and that has shown throughout the years with what they do. And naming rights and so much of the other stuff the family's done puts us in this position. And the Bengals have never been big splash day one, folks. I had there's a thread of Bengals fans that Jake and I are on, and one of the guys made a comment, oh, same old Bengals, we're back to doing nothing. And my response was, before 3 years ago, Bengals fans never knew when free agency was or really even paid attention. It's all changed in the last couple of years. Bengals have never done much day 1. Day 2, a little more noise, but a splash like this is.
And then they go bargain hunting. They go bargain hunting at the end. Yeah. This was a graphic I grabbed off of Facebook or Twitter, and I was going to tweet it out later tonight to tell people to just relax. The caption says, Katie is cooking. Okay. I was going to tell everybody, will you guys just chill out? We have to re-sign Burrow. And before I could even tweet this out, we got Orlando Brown. But that was the graphic, was the Katie is cooking. And this is what's different. Is that they've taken over the team and they have a completely different philosophy on money and what they're doing. And it's huge.
The philosophy on money for sure is different, which means that they're more interested and inclined to dish out long-term big contracts to players who are not currently on the team, to outside free agents. But their philosophy of value hunting, and it's just now not dumpster diving anymore. They are seeking value for premium players at premium positions. And I tweeted this Monday night. I was like, keep in mind that almost nothing that happened today, Monday, has any significance on the landscape of the league. Super Bowl odds are lowly affected. Win totals won't surge or fall. Day 1 is when we find the losers, not the winners. Day 1 is when the teams with a lot of cap space who did not win many games just throw money at players. And that's not what the Bengals do at all. That's never what they will do. It's never what they did, or it has not been what they have done the last 3 years. Cheeto, Mike Hilton, Hendrickson was day 1. but the corners that they've signed, the linemen that they've signed, they've been value hunting. And I know they signed Alex Cap at 12:01 last year Eastern time. That was the only one, but that was probably negotiated and finalized at the combine in Indianapolis 3 weeks prior. But yeah, it's the philosophy in terms of money has changed, but their idea that they're just going to find the best value, that is, I think it's better than just dishing out money to players who you'll cut in 2 years and aren't making a big impact.
Jake, you made a great point about what goes on in the beginning of free agency. Somebody, I forgot who it was, but somebody that I respect that knows their stuff, tweeted midday yesterday, so a day and a half into free agency, and listed the only teams that had signed multiple players, not talking about re-signing players. So brought in more than one player so far in free agency. There were 16 teams, so half the league. 4 were playoff teams, and 3 of them were Dolphins, Giants, Vikings, that are all marginal playoff teams, not that impressive playoff teams.
Teams that are in desperation mode. All 3 of those teams are you're bad or you're in desperation mode. Just because those teams made the playoffs, all 3 of them are going to be favored to miss the playoffs in the upcoming year.
Yeah,
all 3 of them.
The teams that had multiples, it was the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bears, all garbage teams. The only team looking at that list of 16 that had signed 2 players that you'd say, "Whoa, that's a good team," was the Niners.
Yeah. Typically the teams that you mentioned are teams that, even though they made the playoffs, they had major issues. They still had issues. Their fan bases had questions. They needed to excite their fan base, because their fan base, even though they made the postseason, were like, like you just gave Daniel Jones all this money. You can't be super excited. I mean, as a Giants fan, there's still question marks. Is this still the guy? I mean, we're going to extend Burrow. We know he's the guy. The Giants fans have just bought more time to find out. So there's all those teams had issues. This has actually been, we said at our last show, the Bengals had already won this period, the offseason, with the fact that we didn't have our coaches rated. We had both our coordinators. You look at the poor Eagles. I mean, at coaching staff isn't going to resemble anywhere near what it looked like. And we've got another year with that. Continuity so important. And then we ended up keeping Jermaine Pratt, which we thought was gone.
Shocking.
So Pratt stays, and then everybody's freaking out. Perine leaves. Perine was expendable. He's replaceable. It wasn't a big deal.
Draft class is phenomenal in running back, and the rookie draft
class. Yeah. And then
back.
We didn't re-sign Hayden Hurst. I was like, this is the deepest tight end class. We just addressed left tackle. We can now take a first-round tight end if we want, or a second-round tight end. We can do that. This is what the free agency period is about, is taking care of needs so you can address other ones in the draft. We just took care of a huge one. I mean, this was
not only addressing needs, what we've started to see, year 1, we signed the Cheetos and the Mike Hiltons. Year 2, Lawson was out, Hendrickson came in. Last year, it was the offensive lineman. So we're looking at 4 years of free agency in this new world of Bengals world. They're more than ever, and now it's obvious, and we got a body work. There's a plan, and they know what they're doing now. And to be able to say that as a Bengals fan, and every once in a while pop in a surprise like this, Jake, I don't want to take everything that you said. I'm not going to take credit for it. I'll at least say you said it. Is this reeks, everybody's like, why no safety? What are we doing the first 3 days? This reeks of, this was the plan.
Yes.
And to do this deal, it probably took 2.5 days. And it's just what they're doing and the plan that they have. Jake and I always joke when fans make fun of the coach and make fun of the GM or rip the GM. I've always believed in this, and Jake picked this up for me. You know what? The manager of the team, the head coach of the team, the GM of the team, they're smarter than us. So let's let them do their job, and let's just root. They're now, in years past, we might not have been able to say that about the Bengals organization, but they have a plan, executing on the plan. And so far, they're hitting out of the park, and we've now got 4 years of data to look back at that on.
Yeah. No,
I feel like we should start talking about Orlando Brown.
So, we're going to. So the last piece was we lost Von Bell. I really wanted to see Von Bell stick around. I know, Jake, you're kind of on the fence. He's an aging guy, but he had some great moments for us. He came through with some key plays. You know, I knew Bates was gone. I didn't think we were going to pay Hurst a ton of money. Perine's expendable. Pratt was a big surprise, and then Brown today was just. This has just been great. I mean, I'm excited. I'm so, and this has got to ask. You know, obviously, we're all waiting for the Burrow news to come out, and it will come out. This is a major signal to Burrow that, hey, we're going to take care of you, brother. This is it. We're going to keep you upright.
Yep.
I think this is huge. And it's a double-edged sword because one of our big AFC rivals just lost a huge piece, and he's sitting on our line now. So, I mean, this is good stuff. So let's get into some of the specifics. What do you got on the contract?
So this was the contract that the Chiefs offered Orlando Brown, who they gave up a first-round pick to acquire him from Baltimore 2.5 years. This time 2 years ago. He played 2 years with the Chiefs. So in July of 2022, the Chiefs offered Orlando Brown a contract, 6 years, $139 million, which 6 years is unheard of for a tackle in the NFL. But the sixth year was like a Mickey Mouse void year. So they had $44 million in year 6. It was a void year. He was never going to get that. $31 million signing bonus, $38 million fully guaranteed. $95 million over 5 years. So that was basically what the contract was, because the year 6 was non-guaranteed and a void year. So 5 years, 95, $31 million signing bonus. Bengals got him for 4 years, 63 something million dollars. The APYs average per year, 23 the Chiefs offered him, and 16 is what the Bengals got him for. We're going to see
it's 19, right? 595 is 19. So throwing out that 6 year, 19 versus 16.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Yes, correct. So 4 years, 64, 31 signing bonus is what he just signed with us. We're going to see a year 1 cap hit under $10 million. So they still have room to make another move. A piece that I was talking to someone about an hour ago was the cap hits in 2024 and 2025, which is the last year that T. Higgins is under contract and the first year that he's not. Probably cap hits around 25 million. So that is eating a little bit in the T. Higgins fund potentially, but that's still a long way. T. Higgins is under contract for we are under team control for 2 more years because they can tag him as well. Yes. So we'll see how that goes. But if these numbers are right, which I believe they are, and we saw the contract that Jawan Taylor got from the Chiefs, who is not as good of a player as Orlando Brown, and he's moving positions to go play left tackle for KC. I think Kansas City took an L here, honestly. And of course, the KC fans who were so happy when they traded for him, who wanted them to work out a long-term deal last year and this year when they didn't tag him a second time. Of course, all the Chiefs fans are saying how washed he is. You know, he didn't have a great start to the year. Orlando Brown was the 3rd highest graded tackle, not left tackle. He was the 3rd highest graded tackle in 2022 from week 7 on, including the postseason.
Yes. Yeah, Chiefs are all over Twitter bashing and Bengals. You careful what you ask for. You're going to get it. Jake, I want to ask you a question about what you said about the contract. So the cap hit this year is 10, and then you said it goes to 25. So those numbers we don't know yet. These are just predictions from a couple of Bengals guys who wouldn't they
do a lot of cap stuff.
Wouldn't they have wanted to do it the other way? 25 this year and 10 in future years, or is it not?
No, that's not really normally how it works. Because when you give a big signing bonus, you want the bigger cap hits to come later.
Got it.
Yeah. And one thing Katie Blackburn doesn't do is we don't ever have that junk year at the end of the contract that tries to make the numbers look really big. But the Steelers are notorious for this, but they have no intention of the player playing there. They let Porter go before his last year, Ferrier go before his last year. I mean, those are just junk things thrown into the contract. So, we expect we do contracts, and that's why we're not constantly playing games. You don't see us restructuring guys all the time because we don't play those games in the beginning where we have to kind of play the shell game to create more cap space. Katie Blackburn's very straightforward with this. She's been handling the contracts for, a couple decades now. So Mike Brown was smart. He sent her to law school, You're going to have a family member handling contract.
Up on us, Mark.
That's what you go. Who did? Oh, yeah, Jake froze.
You, Jake. You don't give a right tackle $64 million. Everything that you're better at this than me, but everything that I've seen is that Orlando Brown is a right tackle.
You there? You're frozen too. We had a hiccup and we're back. I don't know. I think it was my internet this time. So, but I always say technology is great when it works. So the last thing I was talking about was Katie Blackburn not putting the junk years on the contract, and it was a genius move. Mike Brown saying you're to law school. So that was the last thing I remember saying. So what did you guys say when and then I paused. So
yeah, go ahead, Dad.
I posed to Jake and for discussion. Everything that I've been reading in the last hour or two, and you never know what you're getting with Kansas City fans, is that Orlando Brown is a right tackle that was asked to play left tackle for 2 years with the Chiefs. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the reason he was traded from Baltimore, and I'm going back a couple years, is because Orlando Brown wanted to play left tackle, and the Ravens had Ronnie Stanley, the rookie, I think he was a rookie, and they wanted Stanley Staley to play at left tackle. So they moved Brown, traded him to the Chiefs. He played left tackle for 2 years. Is he our left tackle? Jonah moves to right tackle, and La'el Collins is now depth.
Well, the former part of that is true. I don't know about Jonah Williams, what this does for him. He could be traded. He could play right tackle. Jonah's not a guard, so he's going to play one of the two tackles, and it's probably going to be right tackle if he's still on the team. Yeah, Orlando Brown is a right tackle. He was one of the best right tackles in the league. He's more so maybe top 8 to 10 left tackle. But that's what they're paying him for. I mean, he said,
don't give a right tackle $65 million, right?
Yeah, and Mike Garafolo tweeted that he talked to Orlando Brown like 10 minutes after the news came out, and Orlando Brown said, "I'm excited to play left tackle." So that pretty much puts the pen in that. I mean, that does it. I mean, once you saw the contracts, like, I mean, that's left tackle money, and that is, if he's anything above average, that's a steal. Like the elite tackles get more than $20 million. And if he is as good as he was last year, I think that's a steal. PFF had him projected 5 years, $102 million with 65 guaranteed. And they're normally spot on with their projections, especially for the top tier players where there's not as much volatility with the guarantees and the money, because top tier money is top tier money. So they're normally smart with that. They had him as the highest offensive lineman on the board by far. They had him a couple of spots above Jawan Taylor, and Chiefs offensive line got worse and ours got better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying. It's a double. We actually get it's 2 gifts because we weakened AFC rival. So
I got and we the news also came out that the Jets and the Steelers were trying to outbid us, and the Bengals came in, I guess, last minute and got that guaranteed money up there and beat the Steelers and the Jets.
Yeah. I got a text from a very good friend who we have very cordial, fun banter for years, diehard Ravens fan. The second it broke, he's like, "Man, that one hurts. Not only going to you, he was ours a couple years ago." And I guess his dad played for the Browns and the Ravens when the Browns went to the Ravens. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Hey, love it. This is a great day. Like I said, it's I completely unexpected. The Pratt news was unexpected. This is unexpected. Other than Von Bell leaving, everybody else I expected. I didn't think we were going to play Perine. I didn't think Hurst we were going to pay. I mean, and Bates we knew was gone. So, right now this is all part of the plan.
Jake, okay, the money left. Do you think there's plans, or do you think it fits to sign a big name like a CJ Gardner-Johnson, or even?
Well, okay, you didn't tell me that so Cam Taylor-Britt said, "If you know, you know." You didn't tell me that was quote tweeting CJ Gardner-Johnson tweeting ...
Yeah.
You did not. You left that part out. I mean, he's been teasing it. I don't know what this is. Like, I have no idea. I'm going to leave it.
Players are doing that stuff on Twitter. It never amounts to anything.
Like, what does Cam Taylor-Britt know?
Nothing.
No.
Well, I just took that as, hey, buddy, come on over.
Yeah.
It's like if you know we're legit. You know we're the team you want to play for. That's how I took that. Not, hey, this is done and I know it.
Right.
I took it as, you want to come here, bro.
But this is the people complain about how much money these guys make. This is the good thing about once this gets into the FU money category, it's like Burrow will take, so you only make 40 million a year or 45 million a year, and you do stuff to help out the whole team. So you take a little less, but you go to a place you want. Orlando Brown has a Super Bowl ring. He's now doing stuff that he wants to do for his career. So that's, like I said, that's one of the advantages of getting into these dollars, where even you talk about Andy Dalton just got $5 million a year for doing what? Being the bridge quarterback for whoever the Panthers draft this year. I mean, even just the serviceable people contracts, it's still, millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
he used to play for free. Right.
So I've got two more things. First of all, Orlando Brown had a phenomenal Super Bowl. Only one pressure allowed, no sacks. Was really good in the run game too. Chiefs had a couple of big runs that were anchored by Orlando Brown getting out in space, which he won't do much for us, but you never know. Number two, the Bengals have always showed their hand with the guys they sign, the guys normally the guys they don't sign, but now the guys they do sign, they like captains, stuff like that, but they don't sign guys into their 30s. Orlando Brown's 26. We were on the show, Mark, a couple weeks ago talking about they're probably going to draft a left tackle and start him because they got to reset that clock on finding their franchise left tackle, because Jonah didn't really fit that mold. He gave us a couple of good years, was always kind of hurt. But Orlando Brown's 26 years old. This is basically like they drafted someone and skipped the part where they have to develop him and know they know who they have in him, and they have a top 10 player at a very important position.
Yes.
This is the best lineman they've had since Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah.
Who never should have left.
Agreed. So now, do you think they make a play for like Gesicki, or you think we'd go draft and just draft a tight end?
Well, Mike Gesicki has now seen his value drop in 3 consecutive seasons. He got the franchise tag, I think, last year. He wanted a long-term deal. The tight end market is really down. So yes, I could honestly see Mike Gesicki happen. If he comes to the Bengals, Burrow's going to get him paid next year. That's just how it's going to go. He's not really a run blocker. So the Bengals probably, it's not really a great fit. But you never know. He is an athlete. He's if I always say this, and I told you this, Dad, with the Waller trade, and his cap hit's only $12 million. Anything under $15 million for an elite pass catcher is a steal. I don't know if Mike Gesicki is an elite pass catcher, but he's one of the best pass catching tight ends there is. So if the tight end market is still dipping, that's probably why we haven't seen him come off the board, because we've seen now every top player at each position sign, except for the top 2 tight ends. Both Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki are still on the board, but that's because the tight end market is draining right now. It's super, super low. I don't know why. But yeah, that could be a move.
Yeah. So if that market's dropping and Dalton Schultz is easily the top tight end in the market, and maybe it's because the tight end class is so good coming out of the draft. I've heard next year's is good also. Why not throw 10, 11 million for 1 year at Dalton Schultz and let's go?
I mean, they have 2-3 glaring holes in the defense right now. Like, that's going to need to get addressed.
Yeah. I guess we need a safety.
Well, you need a safety. We need a corner. You always add a corner. We're real big on that. I think our first round pick probably goes corner. I think that's what we're going to wind up doing here. So, especially when you look at who we spent time with at the combine.
It was tight ends and corners.
Yeah. So
the Bengals have again shown their hand. They are prioritizing offense. So I expect the T. Higgins deal to get done, which means they got Pratt for a steal, which probably opens the door for a Logan Wilson contract extension. But guys like DJ Reader, who's in a contract year, Chidobe Awuzie, who maybe we kind of are getting lucky that he's not coming back till mid-season, which will lower his value. But we just let the second or third best player on our defense walk, and Jesse Bates had no choice. We saw it coming, but it still happened, and we can talk about it. So they're going to draft a lot of defensive players over the next 3 to 4 years, and that's the hand that they've shown. And now they've got that staple left tackle that we don't have to worry about that. I get the interior pressure has been a problem, but you can't use last year because Kappa was hurt.
Right.
You can't if Alex Kappa plays in that Chiefs game, it's a different game. So you can't compare the end of last year to the end of the Super Bowl. It's two completely different things. That they fixed the interior last year, so we don't need to worry about that. And right tackle was a huge problem last year because Collins was playing hurt. And if they have a plan at right tackle, maybe they draft someone. They probably will. Then we can solve that problem too. And we're in the same spot we were 5 months ago.
Yeah. What's fun to think about is this gets talked about in probably June, July. Joe Burrow, knock on wood, is going to have his first normal training camp as a professional.
Yes.
As a rookie, he had COVID. Year 2, he was coming off injury.
Right.
And last year, the appendectomy.
Yeah, until he needs to get his wisdom teeth pulled in August,
but
he's on bed rest.
In place. I mean, last year everybody thought the line was magically going to be repaired. That line was terrible weeks 1 through 3, but 4 through 16 or 15, that line was good. Other than Collins being a little bit of a blip, Jonah had some issues, but all in all, that line did a great job for weeks 4 through 15 or 16.
Yeah. I mean, they have he's the term that's about you'll hear a lot over the next month is plug and play. That's exactly what Orlando Brown is. We knew Alex Kappa he was going to fit at right guard. He was going to do his thing, but Collins was a question mark. That's why he had to get released because he was injured and the contract status was up in the air. Karras is, he's Ted Karras. He's an average center, a little bit above average, but better than what we had with Hopkins. And Orlando Brown is the star, and he's getting paid like it with the guaranteed money. And this was, again, the Bengals showed their hand once the Chiefs signed Jawan Taylor, that flipped a switch in the Bengals' mind and be like, okay, we're going to give this guy a blank check, and we're not going to talk to him we're not going to hang up the phone until he's a Bengal. And it seems like this is what they've been occupied with the last 3 days, last 2.5 days, and it's done now. So now, because once they got the Reader deal done 2 or 3 years ago, then, they waited a couple of days, got Von Bell, they signed Mackenzie Alexander. Who else did they get? Josh Bynes. All of those chips fell in the coming days. So that's where we're going to see the Bengals sign a depth corner. They're going to probably sign another pass rusher. And then of course you have to get an athletic safety. I think Taylor Rapp is probably the guy there. One Thornhill went today. That was kind of a guy I would have liked to see them make a play for, but Taylor Rapp probably the guy there for safety.
So CJ Gardner-Johnson's been the big name that everybody wants, everybody knows. But I saw a couple of people today say they think Taylor Rapp's a better fit and a better ball player than CJ. You're better at that than me. I don't know anything on that.
I mean, I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is one of the 15 best players at his position. He's versatile, and that's what Von Bell did, and that's what Lou loves is versatility, because Dax Hill is going to play center field. And he's probably going to be very good at it. People forget about Dax Hill. I don't care about 3 special teams penalties. I guess, I know they came in big spots, but he didn't draft him to play special teams. They drafted him to replace the guy that just left. And that's what he's going to do. He was a first round pick. And, all the draft experts thought the Bengals got a steal with Dax Hill at 31 or 20, whatever. Yeah, I guess 31 last year. Yeah.
Mark, our buddy Heath has been very critical of Dax Hill. He's going to be just fine.
My whole thing is he wasn't ready. A lot of the fans were yelling on Twitter to get him out on the field. And I said, let's give our coaches, remember we talked about, we don't have all the information. If Zach is not Marvin Lewis, if these guys are rookies and they're ready, they're on the field. Marvin Lewis, it was hard to crack the starting lineup, but Zach's not that way. And I just kept saying, we have this coaching staff. We trust them. They have more information. Dax probably isn't ready. And then when he committed those penalties, it kind of showed he wasn't ready. But he's going to have a whole other camp where he's the man. He worked behind Jesse Bates this last season in Bell, so he's got that under his belt. And now it's his time. So
They asked Dax Hill to make his NFL debut playing slot corner when they drafted him as a safety. He played an entire game when Mike Hilton was out in the slot. That was the only game he started all year. It's they have confidence in him, and it's just going to keep getting better. But I think Bengals fans were a little bit spoiled with what Jesse Bates did in his rookie season, because they had all the confidence in the world in him. They said, George Iocca, get the hell out of here. We had this new kid that was a second-round pick who shouldn't have been there, by the way, out of Wake Forest. And he's one of the 7 amazing second-round picks the Bengals have had. Not Drew Sample in my lifetime. But yeah, I think that's not
as a rookie, Jake. I think I had to buy you his jersey for your birthday before I even knew who the heck he was.
Jesse Bates. I mean, it sucked seeing him leave. But it is what it is. He was one of my favorite players. But yeah, I think Bengals fans kind of got a little spoiled with Jesse Bates just coming in as a 21-year-old and being a starter for 4 years.
And don't think that Burrow wasn't upset about Bates leaving too, because how many different events outside of football did we see Bates and Burrow at together? So I mean,
they can still do that. I can.
Speaking of outside events, you guys see the party that Higgins and Chase had the other day in Miami on the boat?
I saw the girls on the boat. I kind of noticed
TMZ ate that up.
I go straight to the girls in the bikinis. So, but
looked like they were having fun.
Hey,
I'm guessing it wasn't a dry party.
Yeah, it's all good. When you're not married and you can just live life.
Young, single with a lot of money, go do it.
Hey, one more thing that I just thought of, and now I'm seeing it. This is the same contract Bates got. This is the Jesse Bates money. They got the same deal at the third most important position on the field. Oh. They were never giving this money to a safety. Oh. They had this. We knew they had this money because they were offering it to Jesse Bates a little less, but we knew they had this money. It was going to go somewhere.
Great
and
point,
it had to go. And it had to go somewhere soon, and it did.
Yeah, you're not going to give 464 to a safety. Give 464 to your blindside left tackle.
Yep. So, all right. Well, with that, Jake, we didn't do this in the beginning. I'm sorry. Tell them where they can find all your stuff, because Jake does some amazing podcasts.
Follow me on Twitter at Jake Circus. Just Jake Circus. A couple of pods coming out soon. March Madness, and then pretty soon it's going to be football season again. We'll be ramping up. Jake Circus podcast on Spotify and YouTube. It's about it.
Yeah, and if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. This show is by fans, for fans. That's what it's all about. That's what's always been. So we don't ask you for money. We don't ask you to buy anything. Although I do want to thank Josh Hoffman for getting me out my James Brooks signed bobblehead. So if you haven't checked out Cincy Bob's, I'm a paying customer. He doesn't give me these to do this. I do this because I'm a fan of what he does. So we do go check out Cincy Bob's, but we don't ask you for Patreon money. Just hit the bell, hit the subscribe, tell your other Bengal fans about us. We're just trying to grow this channel by fans, for fans. And Devin, always a pleasure to have you on. We're going to have you on more often. I think you're going to carve out some time for us.
Absolutely. I love this.
So get used to this.
Tell me if I talk too much and I'll shut up.
No, well, I won't hesitate. I'm not shy. And if we have Heath in the room, he's not shy either. So and these are the homeboys. This is the LA crowd. We're going to games together. We were at the Charger games. So all good. So
you guys come out to Arizona this year, by the way.
Oh, we're there. I would much rather go to Arizona. Santa Clara is one of the most dangerous stadiums in the league. They have more stabbings, more incidents at Santa Clara. I don't know that I want to go up to Santa Clara to see the game, but I'll definitely come to Arizona. So we're going to be doing something. I have a friend of mine owns a house that he only stays at 1 week a month. So I have access to a house there. So our condo. So I will be definitely, I had the Super Bowl all lined up. All I had to do is they just had to get there. I already had my housing taken care of. So,
we'll have you over to dinner when you, for the game.
Oh, it'll be awesome. So, and once again, I don't know when our next show is going to be. It's going to be dictated by the news. So sometime next week, when news happens, check it out. We're going to be there. So
there'll be some signings in the next couple of days.
Oh yeah. No, we'll do a show
start to fall.
I just don't know where it's going to be. This was literally, 90 minutes ago he was signed, and here we are. So we get the news out just that quickly. So with that, I'm going to say, hoo-day, everybody. Take care.